and all other invited dignitaries, seasoned HR professionals, faculty and staff fraternity, and students. It is really an overwhelming experience for me to deliver a welcome address on occasion of AllenOurse-The HR Symposium. If we talk about the theme of today's conference, it is the future of work, workplace and learning. One wise person once told me, whatever you will become tomorrow is determined by what you do today. And Bhagwan Gita has taught me that karma hi puja hai. Now if you connect these two statements, what is the work that is expected from us in the immediate future? What is the place where we will demonstrate that work? And what is the learning that we need to inculcate while doing that work at that designated workplace? 20, for obvious reasons, we couldn't have it. But the work went on. And today we are here with the congregation of seasoned HR professionals and industry experts who will help us understand what is going to be the future of work amidst all those technology concerns. What is going to be the workplace, brick and mortar and physical as we used to have earlier, virtual as we've been listening to these days, or hybrid that will be explained in one of the panel discussions. And what is the learning that we need to pick up in order to be efficient stakeholders of whatever we do? So, I expect a host of learning to take place today, and I believe that we as preachers should always be in constant touch with them as practitioners. It's only when we bridge the gap between preachers and practitioners that learning, which hitherto was confined within four walls, would expand. And I think if we enhance our learning by understanding what is the best of the best practices that we followed, we'll turn out to become better individuals. With this expectation, I thank you. I thank all the dignitaries for sparing time out of the hectic schedule amidst concerns of the third variant, and I look forward to great deliberations. On behalf of Allenhouse Group of Institutions, I again extend a hearty welcome to all the dignitaries and my best wishes for the expert deliberations that you're going to witness today. Thank you very much.
I'm so thankful that all of you are here today despite so many talks about the third variant. Well, we've all been through turbulent time, and during this turbulent time, change is the only thing that has remained constant. Today, there is a constant flux in the business, and we all need to improvise and change ourselves according to the time. It is said that more than half of the workforce needs a lot of training and development, and we need to focus on productivity and creativity. Today, I'm sure all my students sitting here, along with my fellow colleagues, will take away a lot of takeaways and learn a lot from such experienced people from the industry, and of course, be enlightened with the new techniques that can be adopted in your future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now invite Director Allenhouse.
Honorable members of the management, Zafar, Amin sir, Yusuf sir, fellow directors, HODs, faculty members, and dear students. Future of work, workforce, and learning. This is our topic today. All intelligent species, those who work for predicting theories, those who work for modelings and simulations, they can understand that future is really very unpredictable most of the times. Somebody has said, if the past, by bringing surprises, did not resemble the past previous to it, that means the past's past, then how should the future will resemble the present past? And that we have experienced last year. You might have seen or heard lot of predictions, lot of models, mathematical models, statistical models, and even astrological models for the prediction of the third wave in October or November. All failed. They all failed. But at least they have made us prepared for such kind of emergency situations. So preparation is more important than predictions. And that is what we are going to do today. The brainstorming for the future. In the book Theory of Randomness, Dr. Nassim Taleb of Oxford University said, don't aim to be perfect. Don't aim to be perfect. Aim to be anti-fragile. He coined this word, anti-fragile. The system which extracts gains from the randomness, from the disorders. Things in this corona period, they are behaving really in a very complex and unpredictable manner. I would like to share some facts. Like in 2021, all of us have experienced some kind of sickness in our family. But the data shows that sickness leaves. The sickness absence was at its minimum. That is the point which is really amazing, that we all were sick in 2021 and the absence due to sickness was at its minimum in last 25 years, around 1.6%. One more astonishing data is that we all think that there is a scarcity of jobs due to this pandemic situation. But the reality is that in IT sector, the attrition rate is at its maximum, its all-time high, around 22 to 23%. That means around 1 million people. Around 1 million people in IT sector, they are leaving the jobs in 2021, and at present we are in December and I have read the news that yes, it has crossed 1 million. And in cognizant, this attrition rate is around 33%. What does it mean? It means 1/3 of cognizant is vacant. One more thing which I can say with full confidence, and that is that technology is going to lead in all the domains of life and in HR domain also. IBM has just announced that their some kind of IT machine will predict with an accuracy of around 95% about the workers who are going to quit the job. They are AI-based machine. So let's prepare, let's brainstorm and try to understand from our experts how to deal with this pandemic situation, post-pandemic, or we are in pandemic. That is also a matter of confusion. For the betterment of ourselves, for the betterment of our organization, for the betterment of our nation and society at large. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Jagwani. Thank you, all dignitaries and my colleagues who are present here. Thank you, students. Give me the opportunity to discuss few things with you. So, I'll start with a quick thing. How you perceive HR in this situation? This is my first question. And what is our roles, responsibilities and duties in today's scenario? That is the most important aspect for every HR professional who is dealing with this situation. Like for us, we are in mining business. Those who are working in manufacturing and especially the sector which is, you can say, which is the essential sectors, like for telecom, mining, coal. You have recently seen there is a news, we are having very few results for coal. So we were on our toes. 24/7 we were just digging coal and supplying to, you can say, government. So in these situations, how you deal, that is important. As we know, disruptions always give us something new. And what is that new? That is, disruptions give a shape to our working, our culture, our skills, our learning. So just imagine, you are a right-handed person, suddenly somebody asks, give your signature by your left hand. So you have to give a second thought before signing on a paper. So that is the disruption. That is the actual disruptions we are talking about. In the same way, pandemic suddenly strikes on our gate and asks, now guys, start working in my manner, not your manner. So that was told by this pandemic a year before, most likely. And we have to change our minds. We have to think again what we are supposed to do now and how. That is the important. So, in my discussion, next couple of minutes, I hope I have around 10-15 minutes with me. So you can see this trend, this pandemic, this culture, and today's theme, future of work, workforce and learning, by two aspects. One aspect of an employee and one aspect of an employer. So it is a win-win situation for both employee and employer. There are the news, people lost the job due to this pandemic, people don't have any work to do, people don't have any things to act, things to remember, and suddenly there is a flood. Everybody is trying to get new learnings. I'll take first the learning part. You can see the flood on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I have completed this online program. That's fine. We have completed the online program, online certification. But is that really worth for me, or I really worth for this program or online subject? Nobody think of that. So it starts with the time we start working from home. So everybody just behind learning and learning and learning. We don't know whether it's a communication skill. I'll use some Hindi. मेरा फ्रेंड कर रहा है तो यार मैंने भी सोचा कर लूँ. That kind of setup we have, that kind of mind we have. Because my friend is doing a program, I also want to do some program. But we never thought of whether it's useful for me or not. So my first request to everyone, do whatever you want to do, properly analyze it, properly evaluate it, then only go for learning. Because this is the time for learning and relearning. It's not the time only to study. Do whatever you do, but think before doing certain things. That is important. Now I come to the another aspect, the future of work. How we want to do certain things at our workplace, at our home. So now this is the model which we have already adopted. Is a hybrid model. Few employees are working from offices, few are working from home. Earlier we used to get our home to office, but now what we are doing? We bring our office to home. This actually we are doing. We started working from home. We started work from any remote location. You can see Facebook. There are so many options available. Come enjoy 24/7 free Wi-Fi. Uninterrupted internet, and you can do your job from a riverside, from a holiday home. So these kind of scenarios you can see now. But that is true. That is now our culture. That is now our, you can say, that is now in our blood now. In last 1.5 years, because that wall has been broken down, where in confined world everybody wants to work. 10 to 5, 10 to 7 or 10 to 9. Now if you have a mobile, if you have a laptop, if you have a data connection, you can work from any place, anywhere. So that is the reality. But with this flexibility, there are certain things which comes to us which are very important to understand. As an employer, it is very important to understand what we are giving to our employees. Because somebody who is working from home, whether he is actually working, we are not here to, you can say, monitor somebody. But that is not trend, especially in IT industry. Because they are doing so many researches to monitor the productivity. How you can engage with the employees who is sitting 200 kilometers away from you. So that is the trend now. How you can measure productivity, how you can engage an employee, how you can give a good help to him. Like for most of the industries now giving a work from home facility with a table, chair, laptop, stand, so on and so forth. But parallelly they are also working on a softwares, automation, AI tools, where they can measure the productivity, engagement, even timekeeping. How much time you have spent on laptop, they are monitoring that as well. Your log in and log out. So what we are thinking is not, grass is not always green on the other side. That is true. हम IT कंपनी में जाएंगे और सब कुछ अच्छा हो जाएगा, we will work from home. That is not the scenario. That is the true reality. On the other hand, it is not only organizations monitoring these things. So this is the time where we can have another top tier organizations, a level of top tier organization. What is that top tier organization? The organizations who cares for their employees. Organizations who cares for their employees, they will stand apart from rest of the organizations. So like for us, the support we provided to employees during pandemic, That is important. That is remarkable. If my employee can say, boss, working with Aditya Birla Group company or XYZ group company, I never thought of I'm alone. Or after me, what would happen to my family? That is the you can say punch an organization can give to anybody. That is the feeling. That is the, you can say, relation with our employee and employer, where nobody think of, if I would not be there tomorrow, my family is in safe hand. Safe hand means they have a proper earning resources, they have proper support from my organization. So these kind of organization will now stand apart from rest of the organizations. So that is the culture, that is the work group we are talking about. Then comes another important aspect, tapping the best talent. So as a HR guy, HR professional, this is the time where you can engage with the people who are not able to go to offices. They prefer remote working, like for ladies, mothers, who prefer work from home. So you can increase your ratio of diversity if you engage with them, because you give the opportunity to work from home to them. So if you give an opportunity to work with them, to them, along with them, you can increase the diversity ratio, which is the most important aspect for every HR. Because we are struggling, to be real sense, if we leave few of the industries like for IT and others, where the ratio of females are on a higher side, but like for us, the manufacturing, the ratio is very minimum. For us, this is an opportunity. We can see it as an opportunity, where we can engage with the ladies, the other people of the society, engage them, ask them to work remotely and help us. Another important aspect which come to us is losing job. Do we really afraid of losing any job? I think no. That phase has been over now. And now, as Sir just told us, shared the figures, market again started responding positively to us. So there are n number of jobs available in the market, which you can see, which you can get in the market. But again, learning part. As a student, as a professional, even we are still learning. Most of the time we used to read so many things. And I am requesting everyone to please read, please learn. Then only you can survive in this market. Because competition is competition. It's not a cutthroat competition or something. Competition is competition. In my language, it is pure competition. Either you or somebody else. So just learn. Another aspect related to learning, because again it will reshape your skills and your role. Two aspects. Because with every job there is a certain skills, certain roles, certain competencies. If you develop that, that is good. If you don't able to cope up with that, then there is a problem. So, future of work, if we talk about, is very simple. Focus on automation, AI tools, which is important because keeping somebody engaged is a Herculean task for HR guy. Even when we were in an office kind of setup, it was not that easy. Engagement in HR fraternity or HR language, everybody think engagement is a birthday cake cutting. That is not an engagement. For every individual sitting in this room or anywhere, engagement not is a birthday celebration, you can say annual day celebration or something like that, ताली बजा दो kind of thing. वो HR का काम नहीं है. That is not the engagement. Engagement is when you talk about the productivity of employees, when you talk about the development of employees, when you talk about your organizational engagement scores. That is the engagement. right? So with this pandemic, it becomes a tough task for every HR guy engaging with employees, and we have to engage everyone remotely. So in this time, everybody is just going for online courses and everything, but as a HR, if you are talking with a person about his development, about his growth, in terms of, and giving him the opportunity, him or her the opportunity to do better, with a, you can say, newer phase of enriched jobs, that is our task. Because jobs are limited now. Limited in the sense, I am talking about in that particular framework. It is not in the numbers. Like for me, I am a HR head. My job is a limited job. But how I can enrich my job, that is my task. That is my boss's task. How he can engage me in this turbulent time. So likewise for me, engaging with my employees, engaging with my subordinates, colleagues and others as a HR head or HR professional, that is my job. How I can engage with them. And third one is the workforce. I have already discussed about the workforce. Workforce is everyone. So I feel workforce somewhere is not a very positive terms in my definition of workforce. It should be something else. Because it gives some negative connotation kind of thing, workforce. But that's true. When we talk about the workforce, that means workforce. It is especially for the manufacturing kind of setup. We use this term workforce. But how we change the workforce, that is important. That is, you can say, task in our hand. We have to think as a young mind like you guys, we have to think. So whenever you think about engaging, don't think about candles. Think about something else. When you think about candles, you will always think about candles only. So think something else. Engage with people. Engage with all employees present. Because the pandemic which pressed the reset button. So why I am using this reset word? Because it all changed after coming this pandemic. He just come and press this reset button and our life has just started from afresh. We started so many things new. We left so many things which we used to do earlier. From register to computer. So that journey we have covered in last 1.5 years. Nobody think of earlier that we can use to work from home. Even in setup like manufacturing. Most of the people is still working from home. It was a dream for most of the service industries as well. We were thinking, when I was in idea, we were used to think, well, one day we will start work from home. But suddenly everything has got changed. And we started working from home. We provided all amenities, all support to employees, and we started working from home, and it is working fine. But again, there is a caution. And that caution is engage with people, give him a platform to perform. If you are not able to give him a platform or her a platform, then there is a problem. And that is a major task in hand for every HR guy in hand. And that is important. And that is important to us. And I pray this pandemic will get over as soon as possible. And everybody would be with a good health, good job, and good future. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I can't hear. There's energy. Morning. My name is Amit Sahani, already announced, and I come from Ali Dutta Company. We are actually distributors of universal brand, and I am nowhere in the role of HR. To be very clear, I would like to start this session by taking some points from Hiten sir. As he said, workforce. It should not be called workforce. I call it as family. When somebody is working with you, he is part of your family. Your last name, your surname actually comes with the company name. The work you do, you are known for that. There was a statement I'm remembering that, Abraham Lincoln, he was a tall guy, very tall, so people used to joke around with him. And they asked him, how long should be the man's legs? And he very lightly answered, as long as to reach the ground. Reaching the ground, he meant that everything starts from the roots. So when we talk about family, we talk about our own work culture, people should come to know that where he belongs, where the person belongs, he or she belongs. So, I don't know what to talk about further, but the thing is, here, I would myself take away a lot of things, and which I have already started. There were so many useful thoughts coming in. Another major thought which came in today, which Sretin said, something came and resetted the whole world. And yes, it happened. We can recall within the last 1.5 years, we had never thought our lives would be like that. So, I would take away as one more thing, that never stop to learn. And I would expect everybody here to take it as a note again within their own lives, that learning never stops. Till the day you die, you still learn. And if you still learn, you have aspirations to go ahead. You have aspirations, what I want to do tomorrow. You have even your future goals set, because when you are learning, you are on a path, you want to see your graph going up. To see your graph going up, you need to take steps. And the first step is to learn to be ready for the next thing. Another benefit of learning every day is you can change your own path. You are not machines, we are all not machines. We cannot do the same job in the same manner every time, every day, every second. That only a machine can do. But we as humans, we need change. We need differences. We need productivity improvement of our own. I would like to see myself 5 years back, the way I was working on the same thing, and 5 years now. Have I improved? Have I changed the methods? Have I changed, the pattern of my work? Or have I moved efficiently or inefficiently? But until and unless I don't need to, I don't study my own self, I don't study, or I don't learn, or I don't need to know the next step, I will never come to know whether I'm on the right path or not. So with this, I will not take much of a time. Let's start this session and have a lot of takeaways, full of energy, so many bright minds sitting here. The ideas, if I'll ask ideas from you guys, I think I'll be flooded. So congratulations for having such a session, and let's start the day.
A skit that would show HR-related issues that are frequently faced and resolved in an organization. So I would request the students to be prepared and request you all to welcome them with a...
Because the event got started late, and since the skip students are here at other duties, so they will take 2 to 3 minutes to assemble. In the meantime, I have been requested by the people over here to share with the dignitaries herself. If she's going to find she's going to face a situation where she's going to find herself in a dilemma. And the dignitaries in the audience, please be prepared. You are going to participate in that skit, because that HR manager will approach one of you asking for a solution, your advice, so that she can get out of that dilemma. And I have been asked not to reveal the script or the skit. And I know the people on the other side, they are accomplished and seasoned professionals, and whatever advice they would tender to this hypothetical HR manager would be one of the greatest pieces of advice. So my request to the audience is, if that question is popped up, I expect from you to give the best of the best advice, so that if a similar situation which is very close to reality, that girl faces in her life, if at all she chooses to do MBA and then chooses HR, that this advice of yours will help her in that situation where her mettle is tested, where her employee expects something great from her. And this skit is very close to our heart. The students were told about this thing a couple days ago, and they prepared very hard. They may, I think, they may miss on one or two words, or they may not. But I know that we are all here to appreciate them, and we'll be waiting for the first scene. And at the end of the skit, let us see what has been the experience, what would be the experience so far. With this, I think, are we ready? Ready? Sure? Okay, almost there. Fine, thank you.
May I come in, ma'am? Please come in. Good morning, ma'am.
Anya, I will be reading the progress report of Miss Shreya and Miss Adiba.
Okay, ma'am.
And also send them to my cabin.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am. May I come in?
Please come in.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a seat, Shreya.
Yes, ma'am.
Shreya, I was going through your progress report and I'm really glad to tell you that you are being so disciplined.
Thank you, ma'am.
But there's no significant contribution that I see in here.
Ma'am, I'm specialized in my work and I try to completely focus on the work I do.
So are you trying to say that you are not creative then?
No, ma'am, I am creative, but I like to do my work within a set format.
Creative but likes to work in a set format.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Shreya?
Ma'am, may I leave now?
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. May I come in, ma'am?
Please come in.
Thank you, ma'am.
Adiba, why are you so informally dressed? Don't you know the work culture of the organization?
Sorry, ma'am. Actually, I got late today, but this won't happen again.
Okay, fine. Sit down.
Thank you, ma'am.
Adiba, I was going through your progress report and I found out you were absent for 5 days last month. Why so?
Actually, ma'am, I was not absent. I came late. That's why I was not allowed to mark myself present.
So, why did you come late?
Because of the traffic, ma'am.
Okay, just make sure you don't do that again. Adiba, you played a major role in the implementation of the policies last month. So, do you have any more ideas as to how we can increase the profit of the organization even more?
Yes, ma'am. If we follow better inventory management practices, we could increase our profits even more.
That's a good idea. Okay, Adiba, just make sure you don't dress up like this again.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
May I leave?
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, whom to retain and whom to befriend? Shreya, she's disciplined, she's diligent, she's sincere, but she does nothing out of the box, especially when the word is talking about box-less thinking. Initiative, she's an initiator actually, she is so creative. Both of them are finding it somewhere difficult to work upon their deficiencies. What should I do in this situation?
She was not even dressed up properly.
Oh really, Miss Manager? Are you always so formally dressed up? Anyways, Adiba is creative and can do wonders for the organization.
Then get rid of the other girl.
Please stop it. Both of you, please stop it. You're confusing me even more. Just leave it. What should I do? Who is the right fit for the organization? I am so very confused. Now, sir, ma'am,
Had you been in my situation, what you would have done?
So, ma'am, would you like to solve the query? Anyone? Yes.
Okay.
With the company policies, right?
Yes.
They have already trained them. So these things happened recently, or this was happening earlier also?
So, recent, after the COVID.
Because last year, because she is doing a good job, right? But somehow she has missed these couple of things. So you can, if you can groom them, you can coach her at this point of time for I think next 1 month, next 15 to 20 days. I think she can improve on. So then, based on this, if still she is not improving, then you can take the call. Whether which employee you want to keep it. First, you should give them some time, okay, to evaluate them, and before asking, I think, before taking any harsh decision, you should inform the employee also that you are under the obligation. We will observe you for next, I think, couple of months. Based on that, we will take the decision.
Thank you so much, sir, for solving my problem.
So 100% agree to like being an HR manager, you should also think that how you are communicating, what kind of word that you are choosing. That is also very important because the communication that you are doing is not up to the mark in today's time especially. So in 1990 it can work, but today it is not. So the different story of the same situation is that HR has to also change themselves.
You see, the time of the baby boomers are over. We are dealing with Gen Z and the millennials. Okay? Now the millennials have a very different way of behaving themselves, as we have all come to know, which in a way is also determining the way that we as functionaries in the organization need to actually wear different hats. So the same, to take the same point that you asked and to take the cue from Bharat, when you ask somebody that how come you took 5 days of leave, try doing that in a realistic situation and you'll get some fantastic, you'll get some fantastic answers and you may not like all of them. Because that's the millennial story. Rather, I would, so sorry, I was having that soft and it went in. Rather, I think there's another storytelling way in which you have to approach today. Today is the time for storytelling. So you can sit the person down and you will actually say.
You can heard from the first 2 panelists. It seems that the next chance would be of the HR person being herself under the scandal. But jokes apart, what I assume is that this was a situation of 2 employees being on a performance improvement plan, something which we call as a performance improvement plan. At the end of a 2 months or a 3 months designated period, there is an evaluation whether the person is to be continued with or to be let go, right? So if this was the situation, in an ideal case scenario, the PIP process, the performance improvement process in itself would be so objective. The form which you are having in your hand, after looking at the form itself, you won't be in a dilemma to ask this panel what to do. Because that form should be so objective in nature. It should tell you exactly these were the objectives which were given to Shreya, and on these objectives, this is how she has fared well. These were the objectives which were given to Adiba. This is how she has performed on those objectives. If dressing and attendance were a part of that process, then they have a weightage in that. If they were not a part of that process, it should not bother you. So that is how objective the process itself should be. If your processes are objective enough, you will never have to come to a panel like this to seek advice. The process will tell you what to do.
To actually approach the situation in a much more conducive manner, as if we are not part of equals, because the earlier whole concept of stratified thinking and hierarchical processes don't work very well today. So I would say sit the person down. The body language has to be much more affluent. You need to put the person at risk. Maybe do a little bit of start talk which is a little casual, and then come to the point and be quite particular about it. That where were you when we I hope everything's fine at at home and everything else. Because 5 days is quite disturbing, and obviously if you're away for 5 days, it gets noticed. So when you make the thing seem like that, it doesn't put the person back into a defensive mode. So some of that is grooming for us, HR itself, which in a way is also determining how the workforce needs to, how the workplace needs to be redefined. The other part that I completely agree with, sir, processes and systems have to now take over from intuition and gut feels. That again is something which is a little archaic and is obviously outgrown its utility. In a lot of organizations today, how you wear, what you wear, and how you come into the office is a very small concern. It's your delivery, it's your timelines, exactly, and that's the part of the gig economy. Believe you me, that's what is determining the gig economy. It's no longer the chappals and the shirts. You're actually back at home delivering the work. Sometimes that remains a reality today. So some of these things need to be calibrated as we move on with the times. I think we have to look at these situations in perspective. Thank you.
Where, as I said, I'm nowhere in HR, but the moment I started working with my own business, I had to wear that hat. And this situation comes to us very frequently. Okay, so I'll add to the same thing on objectivity. We should be very clear. I play a game like that. I have a game. I put 10 points. Very simply, it's a very simple method. And I put points that in my decision making, these are the categories I want. Maybe pressing, maybe work culture, maybe diligent on time, and then I divide those points. What is more important for me? But mind it, my limitation is only 10 points. So that gives me a very objective answer that for me, if a top priority is getting maximum points and it is being achieved, the person should remain with me. And in today's environment, very clearly, one should be ruthlessly passionate about their own organization. It's a very tough world, but yes, that's reality of life. You have to be ruthlessly passionate because you have to see the future. As an HR also, you have to wear a hat where you have to be part of the heads, where you can actually become the growth perspective avenue, right? So until and unless you are not thinking about your future and also the organization, you cannot perform this job rightly. As he said, you will come on this campus. So, my game is, if you want, I can share that also. It's only simply dividing points. Gives you an answer, objectively.
Will not be able to build a team around him. So, apart from any other traits, what it is there, the predictability is important. We don't require one match wonder. We require consistent players. That is very important for an organization. Apart from those what the stalwarts have said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to go back with my point of view. So it is less dialogues to be judgmental. I will not be judgmental here, but very clearly show that what kind of problems we are facing, and we will face more by that. And some of them have rightly spoken about it. The millennials are coming, Gen Z, Gen Y is coming, so a lot of cultural disruptions which we all are saying. We all are facing. But I would like to go back to what Mr. Reinventing spoke about engagement and productivity. So definition of engagement and productivity is changing, right? What you are focusing on attire, or you are focusing on this, or an engagement on discipline. I would like also to go back when we talk about culture. Culture begins from the gate. The first person who opens the gate is the one who hires the person. So it's very important that how well knitted your entire HR processes are. When you are hiring, when you are inducting, when you are briefing about the job description, when you are briefing about what the performance standards and parameters are, these all should be well knitted. The guy who is hiring is not knowing that what for me the person is hired for. The one who is doing induction, not knowing what his expectation of businesses are, then this all kind of chaos does happen. Other than what my senior people have just said about it. Thank you.
Over to you. Have a seat. Any problem?
Ma'am, actually I came to tell you that I want to resign.
Resign? Why? What happened?
Ma'am, I have been offered a better package. That's the reason.
Prabjot, if you want, I can talk to the top management and we can get you an increment.
Ma'am, there are some other reasons as well. I think if I join a new organization, I would be able to learn new things.
But see, you are a very valuable asset for the organization, na? And personally, I would not want you to take a wrong decision right now.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sure about it. But please, if you can help me with this resignation letter.
See, Prabjot, what we should do is that you give it a second thought and we could talk about this after 2 days.
Okay, ma'am, if you insist so.
Just please think about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Think, you also need a change.
Don't listen to me. Just think about getting them employed.
Fair enough. Then increase the salary. I wonder, when was the last time you got an increment?
Just think before increasing his salary. I mean, other employees may also ask for an increment.
I wonder when was the last time you people actually helped me. Now I'm even more confused.
Nobody
Please
listens
leave
to
me.
I'm leaving.
Leave. I'm already very confused. What should I do? Everyone is leaving the organization. Am I failing to retain them? So, ma'am, I'm again back to you. Please solve my dilemma.
How would you like to answer that? It has come to run now.
Questions about the other reasons that he mentioned. So, if salary is the only thing you can give a raise, but he highlighted certain other reasons for leaving the organization, so you would want to get some insight onto that. So, get more clarity on that firstly. Secondly, as a candidate, if a raise is something that is coming out of the blue while he's leaving the organization, then I would question the HR processes in the company. Have you not been tracking the employee properly on the performance and doing a timely, updated revision of the salary stipends? These two primarily are the reasons which I think you should dive into to get more data first before taking a call. And personally, I think you should not hold back a candidate if they want to go. Rather, make it seamless for them to transition out, because you never know when further down the road they might want to come back also. So, yeah, you build a team for the future. So, I would want clarity on those two questions first before taking a decision.
I think the candidate mentioned that was one of the reasons quoted.
Okay.
So your quick take on that. Is it wrong to learn new culture or going to new organization?
I would want to learn something, evolve the organization internally. And while that is happening, help the candidate transition out. That's fair.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
You cannot make a lazy horse work. If he has thought of leaving, if he has asked you for leaving, he has already mentally disassociated with you. He is no more going to be that productive, even if you give him the raise, number one. Number two, seeing him blackmailing the organization, I'm sorry to use this word, the other people will follow suit, which is very dangerous precedent. First, you have to develop your own processes so that employees get before asking. That is very important, because very small things brings up, I would say, people get offended if they are not getting their reimbursement in time, if their attendance is, so you have to be liberal. If they are not given compensatory off, these are the things we switch off the employees, and then they start looking. The moment they start looking, he is 50% gone, and when he comes back and tells you that you increase my salary, he is 100% gone. So you cannot retain it. Today or tomorrow is going to leave. That's my take.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, there are a couple of things which if I would have been at your place, I would have tried to guess. Is it a reactive thing because of something happened just few days back, few weeks back, between the manager and his subordinate? Or is it because of the culture which is actually growing across the organization? Is it one of the functions or few of the functions? Is it less, I would say, a bad combination of expectations versus KRS? Could be many things, right? But what I would suggest in some scenarios nowadays, HR professionals which they are actually looking up is AI is helping big time. So now AI is helping to do a predictive thing when you know actually that your couple of employees are getting disengaged because the performance is going down. It could be parameters like attendance or the monthly KPIs or achievement. So you become more proactive than getting a surprise early in the morning. Someone comes and knocks on the door and says, "I'm going to work," you know. So and especially it becomes very critical for us in this state. We're getting a good professionals. Young age professionals is a nightmare for HR, and HR can understand what I'm talking right now. Bringing people from different states, metro cities to this place, the city, is itself a very difficult job. And someone is really a good performer. For me, it's very important that I should know what's going on in his mind. It's really happy. We have moved beyond in engagement. It is just not limited to workplace anymore. So I think a lot of things we need to introspect that why this kind of accident happens as planned.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so I'll just comment my point of view. So I have seen these things very rapidly growing in the last couple of years already because of this pandemic and online. More opportunities has been fired on in software industries. So what we do, I have to manage the HR team, so I give them the final decisions. But what I have to do is like, you know, I keep on following up the person who is in this situation. And I ask them to, or my HR already do that, they check with their managers, first find out like, okay, what is going to happen when this guy is going to leave us? Who will fill the gap? What would be the expected salary? How much I have to spend on getting a person on the same state back into the organization, and the transition loss that I'm going to be billing some monthly, hourly, whatever it is. So we have to calculate that thing also, and then we have to decide that, okay, if we give that much of rise, and if he's getting anything extra in the other company, he's trying to, because generally employees don't disclose like to which organization they are going. So we have to check like what is they are expecting from us if they want to continue with us, and we are actually, you know, we can give them what they are expecting, until unless it is something which is really not possible, if the competition is really high and you cannot compete with the person to which organization is going to. But we have to see that we have invested a lot of time training that person to come to that position already. So we have to calculate both of the you know, not both, three aspects, and then we have to take a decision.
The candidate has already come to you and he's saying, let's talk about the resignation. He's only physically present with you. Mentally, he's actually switched off most of the times. Which means that we are already late, catching the bus. I think in this age of the AI and all the sorts that we're talking about, which is more predictive in nature than anything else, I won't go the AI base right away, but I would suggest that there are a lot of things that are already happening in organizations which shouldn't put the HR person at such a state. One of the things I remember I did with a lot of success in one of my organizations when I was in HR, more than Fortis hospitals. And we enforced that primarily because it was a rare skill. We were losing doctors. And affording doctors, really good skilled doctors, is always a real problem. So that used to be a rare skill market. So we could not put ourselves in a situation where suddenly somebody upset comes for whatever reason. So instead of doing exit interviews, we started doing stay interviews. It's a completely new concept. We had not used it earlier. But it doesn't matter. We were up against a wall, so we said, why not try doing that? First and foremost, we got all our HR managers to ask the right questions. We trained them on asking the right questions, because if you ask the leading questions, it'll again get into a situation of negotiation, which we didn't want. So it had to be a very open-ended, not closed door kind of a situation where you could get a finger on the pulse of a person, even while he was supposedly satisfactorily employed. And many of the times when we did these stay interviews, it was done in a manner so as not to let the incumbent understand that this was something very structured. So maybe over a coffee in a cafeteria, or maybe in a very unstructured manner, but we would find out that if that person was really held into his position, or was he starting you're able to spot those things. I think that is what exactly gentlemen there talked about, that this is the, going to change into the next step, AI mechanism, where through tools you will actually be applying predictive analysis so that you're able to gauge much before the final thing that the person walks up to you. Because there half the battle is already lost. And the other thing that I'd like to say is, I think, it's rarely money today, because most of the organizations today are paying at market rates. Very few would take the risk of not really paying. So if somebody just comes to you and says, they're giving me a 20% hike, 90 out of 100 cases, he's not telling you the right reason. So I think there again, HR needs to probe much deeper. I have to keep continuing. We're part of the HR blended ourselves, and the job is just getting tougher and tougher for us. It's not so much the employee. Thank you.
Increment in between, because that will disturb your internal structure right now. Try to use to emphasize more on his career path. He said that he would like to go for another opportunity in terms of culture and learning. If you can assign him, if you can promise him or give assurance that you will assign some good project or some good assignment to him, I think next couple of months, and based on that, you can give him better revenue at the remuneration by next year. That kind of assurance you can provide him. You should more emphasis on the career path at this point of time. I hope he's your good employee. That means he's one of your top performers. That's why you said please don't go. So you should give him proper guidelines that there is a future for you. So in the career path, next couple of years, how you can be groomed and developed for the next level. Then he can stay right. I think so.
And one last bit to it, that if you are promising him or trying to show him a career path or a map which you have charted, which till now you have not told him, and that's why perhaps he's leaving, then I think this is the right time to bring a business leader into the conversation. So the manager is already out because वो manager से बात करके ही आपके पास आया होगा, right? Manager could not convince him. Now he's standing at your doorstep. This is perhaps the right time to go the skip level, or maybe 2 skip levels, maybe Robin the CEO. And if someone, a business from the business side, comes and tells him, "Arey Prabjot, this was what I had planned for you, and we were thinking that maybe you can lead this project," as well as very rightly said, that we were thinking that you could be one of the leaders in this upcoming project in the next 6 months, and that would have been good learning experience and all. Then suddenly Prabjot starts thinking, because oh, itna bada aadmi aake mujhe bol raha hai, there is something to it, right? So that is perhaps the only way left for you. Otherwise, I won't go the other way of offering him instant raise, because that's, as Sir said, that's going to set a very wrong precedent, and everybody, that's a message you are telling to people, that if you want a raise, get a job and then I'll give you a raise. So that's not how it should be done, right? That's my view. And I have one message for Bhagwan sir. Sir, हमको 12 साल से ये काम तो कर ही रहे हैं, ठीक है? मैं और बाकी को बहुत ज़्यादा सालों से। अगली बार प्लीज हमको एम्प्लॉय बनने का मौका दीजिए, वो करने का मौका कभी नहीं मिलता।
That I promised you on the occasion of AllenOurse 2022.
Yes. तो फिर एक बार हम लोग negotiate करेंगे, वो मजा आएगा।
So we'll do that. We'll do that. I promise you.
Yes.
And you know I'm a man of my word.
Thank you so much. Please have a seat.
Thank you, ma'am.
So how are you?
I'm fine.
How should I help you?
I'm here to talk about the new technology introduced. You really think it will work?
Yes, I feel that it's perfectly aligned with the organization's goals.
And what about me, ma'am?
What about you? I couldn't get it.
I'm me. I'm already 56. It's hard for me to adapt any new technology.
But it is very necessary for the organization.
No, ma'am. I don't think employee of my age working should adapt any new technology when a course of year our service life has left.
But I have to send the compliance report to the top management.
Ma'am, kindly ask to the top management to exempt all of this. We will continue our work as per prevalent practices.
But we want our senior and experienced employees to adapt to the change so that they can set an example for others.
I told you, ma'am, what I feel. Rest your wish.
But listen. Don't.
At least listen to
Stop.
us.
No.
Okay, fine.
these people will also not leave me. Every time, every situation, I am in the problem. I'm back again with the problem. Now what should I do? Please solve my problem.
For instance, every day, in fact, that's correct. Every day, whenever we want to shift to a new app, we want to shift to a new method, we want to do tracking, your employees would come back and they would say that all this while, like especially I'll put it in another way, all the years I've been into sales, I know sales guys, वो दिन में 2-2 घंटे कहीं पेड़ के नीचे चाय पिएंगे, लेकिन जब ट्रैकिंग शुरू हो जाएगा, so they'll be worried. So now they'll start saying, oh, I don't want this, I'll be tracked. Yeah. So the sales force comes in, and then now everybody is worried that even 10 minutes of tea break will not be allowed. But the only way, what I understand, this is my experience, people are more experienced here. Sit down, talk to him, make him talk to the business leader who has decided this.
Yes, he has to say.
Because he has seen that opportunity that this will help, and make them understand that this will be easy for you, not for the organization. This will become your life easier. You will, I put it back, you don't need to keep a diary and remember last time when I met this guy. Now the sales force will tell you, or the new app will tell you. I will not brand it somewhere. The new system will tell you that where you were, what you did, and what you have to do. So you are getting an assistance. So until and unless business leader gets involved here, HR cannot do anything in this.
From a process point of view, you need to back this up with proper metricization. Okay, which means that there needs to be metrics which needs to be associated with the PMS, the performance management. It cannot be standing alone as an initiative good to do in an organization, because that is when most of these protests come by. The moment it is internalized as a part of a culture change, and as rightly spoken, get more leaders to be accompanied in that culture change, because this is not an HR bogey. Don't use the HR to do things which is not really the HR bogey. It has to be a collective of leaders coming together as we are in this together, because it is a culture change. We are taking it to the next level. Therefore, these are the things which we need to do. Show the right picture also to these people, because you need to sell it to them also. Everything by trust doesn't happen well. They will jeopardize the process also somewhere midway. So you need to sell it at every level, and as I said, loop it in with incentives, with awards and the PMS itself. Because when you do that in the right sense, they get to understand, every person, whether it's the leader or the member of the team, gets to understand that by doing this, they actually will be in a position to benefit from it. I think that story sells much better than just use it in isolation.
Thank you so much.
Last year, to combat COVID, which was for attendance and contactless attendance, right, in Kanpur. So you can imagine the pushback from factory workers. So that was a practical problem that our customer came to us with. We gave them 3 solutions. Firstly, we onboarded the HR team they had as to how this will integrate with their existing system, as Ma'am said, the performance system. So HR's role is very limited here from 2 perspectives. 1, the integration of the existing mechanism. 2nd, hand-holding the team members on whatever doubt they have about the said technology. It could be an app, it could be a physical product, it could be anything, right? So that is one of the perspectives from an HR point of view. 2nd is from a systems point of view, it is from a leadership role. And why is the leadership bringing it in place? It's obviously brought in to maximize either the company's performance or the team's productivity, right? And lastly, I would bring it from a awareness or culture standpoint, that if the culture is evolving, how does the leadership as well as the HR see the integration of technology to make the culture be more evolved? So you would have to think through on these 3 steps as the HR was coordinating this to create every stakeholder.
So I will share my real story here. So see, I represent Gyan Group here. So Gyan Dairy is typically a poly-packed milk-based product. I'm very happy to have you, sir. I was in fact waiting for you. Similar industry. So, and then we launched Gyan Fresh, which is e-commerce platform driven when you get a milk at your doorstep. So one was a traditional manufacturing driven and one is a completely the product is technology and not a milk, right? But I had two options. One, again hiring another line of leadership for a new business vertical, or leverage a leadership which is already there from more than a decade, right? And this is exactly the scenario came when a lot of insecurity or discomfort come, when a new technology comes in and try to take, So I think I won't accept it that HR has this role here. I would say HR has a big role here, because the only thing what changes is you cannot come in the front, but you have to play a larger role from a back end. You have to go back and you have to start having a dialogue with your managing directors, promoters, or whatever you say, CEOs, and let them know what the real scenario is. I believe the leadership, which is there from a decade, has inherited the culture, the values, which takes time. You cannot let the value land through a parachute, right? So there has to be a dialogue through the leadership team, and also a comfort, a lot of dialogues in coaching for a leadership which has come through different stages of life, less of technology, more of a manual or that interventions. So I believe there has to be a leadership coaching started. There has to be a lot of alignment of a new word, goal setting, that why it is required. Because I believe the people who are being aged, they also love, they are loyal, they own the brand. So if they're being told about the cause, they're being told about that why it is required, and they're being supported that you can do, it takes a lot of time. But I'm telling you, it is not impossible. This is what we are doing there. Thank you.
New online system, and there are many employees who were against it. So they have to follow a technique named as pilot. Yeah, the pilot technique is the way to go ahead. They try it with a smaller group of sections in which they evenly distribute all age groups, and they see the performances, and they distribute like who should work on which one, and what are the resistances we are facing, and try to resolve them before making it public. So this results have been shown to the management, and then they go ahead with the task. And okay, if you want to go with it or not.
Thank you so much. Now, on behalf of the entire skill team, I, Trivedi, student of second year BBA of Allenhouse Group of Institutions, would like to thank our invited guests for their value-added.
Được chưa?
As we call out the names of the panelists, we request them to take their seats on the dais.
For this panel, we have with us Mr. Saud Usmani, DGM, Corporate HR, Hindustan Times Media Group.
Mr. Deepak Mishra, Head HR, Gyan Dairy.
Mr. Shushen Singh Bhadoria, AGM HR, Superhouse Limited.
And Ms. Devjani Roy, CHRO, Mind Your Fleet Chromosome Software, who shall be moderating the panel. I request ma'am to take the discussion forward.
Hello? Audible to all? Yes, thank you. Because of paucity of time, we've been told that the total time allocated for the panel discussion has been reduced from 15 minutes to a total of different format in mind. and we will try and see if we can wrap up by 25 minutes, so that 26 minutes, so that we can give a chance to our students to ask us some questions. So without much ado, good afternoon, and this is probably why most of us are here, which is Dr. Jagwani's great idea about ripping HR quite across, starting with the skit format to the panel discussion format. And hopefully we are able to do some justice to that. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience, all of you, both esteemed academic stalwarts, as well as my corporate friends, as well as the great learners out there. I hope all of you are having a good time. The first panel discussion offers around a very contemporary and very relevant topic, which is the hybrid role model, the future of remote work. BC and AD used to be before Christ and Anno Domini. However, to me, BC is before COVID and AD is after disruption. I think those are the two kinds of nomenclature which works better in our age right now. And hybrid work model is really the progeny of that age. Till yesterday, it's not that work from home was a misnomer. It's not that we hadn't heard of it, but most of it was relegated to only one time, and most of the times it was more an exception than the rule. And it used to be the preserve of mostly the IT industries or related industries, where sometimes it was a reward, sometimes it was a punishment, sometimes it was just mere convenience, because of which work from home was encouraged. However, today, as we all know, we've moved away from that. There's a paradigm shift. We're talking about part workforce working out of home and part of the human resource actually coming into office in physical presence, which is going to be a very different ballgame for not only the CEO and the rest of the CXO groups to handle, but more importantly for HR to actually take course. Now, if that be the scenario, then I'm going to shoot off my first question. Ready to go?
This came as a result of a disease. This came as a result of a sickness, right? Illness or virus. And naturally, the first reaction of leaders of HR was the humane angle. So we were concerned about employees' well-being, we were concerned about the health part of it, and that's where work from home and all this started. Now, as things are moving towards a norm, as this is becoming a way of life, now we are starting to think about the other aspects, which are the more important aspects, and something like productivity is being questioned. So, coming from my own experience, we believe that, at least in our organization, we did not feel any drop in terms of productivity in the new hybrid style of working. Of course, we are not a pure manufacturing organization. We are a media house, and the answer may be different for a Tata Motors or maybe a Gyan Dairy or somebody else. But in our organization parlance, I would say that we did not feel any significant changes in terms of productivity in the negative side. In fact, it would not be wrong to mention that perhaps we felt that it was on the higher side. Having said that, while we move towards a hybrid style of working, there are two things which are changing. One is the workplace and the other is the work time. Now, workplace could be confined to an office or it could be work from anywhere. Two axes. Timing could be a strict 9 to 5, 10 to 7, whatever, or working anytime. Two different extremes of the axis. Now, if you take a matrix, there are four combinations which are ideal. Work from office anytime, work from office 9 to 5, blah blah, four options. Now, each option, if you see, comes with some advantage or disadvantage, and that's where the productivity is the question here. Now, I think for every organization, it is time for management and HR to relook at the way productivity was being defined, and they must see what exactly was extracting productivity for a particular profile in their organization. It is very much possible that for a copywriter in Hindustan Times, the productivity may be coming from the fact that he has a liberty to work any time of the day. Whereas for a radio jockey in Fever FM, the productivity may be coming from the fact that he gets a nice studio to work in. Right? So whether your productivity is being driven from the fact that you have a liberty of time or the liberty of a workplace, or you have a confinement of infrastructure, or you have a liberty of infrastructure. That is something you should, or we all should be looking at for each and every role profile now in our organizations. And it is very much possible that we may realize it's not at all a one-size-fits-all anymore. That this is the productivity which works for the entire Hindustan Times and ab hum aise karenge. It is very much possible that for a print newspaper it may be different, for a radio it may be different, for a digital newspaper it may be different. In print newspaper, for a copywriter it may be different, for a reporter it may be different, for a printer it may be different. So I think it's a very, very profile specific answer moving on.
Well, thank you. So segments within the working class to which we have to customize our solutions to. Wonderful, thank you. Rian, next question for you. Obviously, remote working is going to pose a different set of challenges to any functionary who's going to be holding that. Some would be actually on the upside, but many of them could have been actually handled in a more stable state organizations. But we have a pandemic and you have the choice. How are we going to be able to overcome? And this is with reference to primarily the management teams as well as HR. How are we going to be able to overcome some of these challenges as we go about handling this hybrid model?
So, in my honest opinion, when the pandemic comes in, I'm with the software background and I'm working for IT firms. So think about it, like IT firms are already working on work from home model for the client who are, sitting in US and
overseas.
Overseas, exactly. So we are offshoring their work to our place. They are sleeping at a time we might be starting working, right? So they are not able to monitor us the way they should be. If you say that, okay, if I work on site, there is a total difference with working offshore. So it was not new for us. We were already doing work from homes. It was only once a month or twice a month, depending on their explicit needs. But now, when the lockdown was in place, and the whole team has to go offline, work from their home. So we need specific sets of softwares that they're entitled to help us to cope the problems of meetings like we need. Everybody now knows about Zoom and Microsoft Teams and these kind of softwares. They were not that mature at the time it was coming up. So we as a company have also evolved some of the software which would help us, tracking the people, like 90% of employees are working totally fine when you give them an assignment, but we need to have a track like, okay, how many hours you have logged, what is the work that you have been doing, is it on time or you are taking it in a different aspect, like now, okay, I have 24 hours, I'll work at night and do it for you, and in the meantime I'll spend my time with my family in the morning or the time, because you need to, you've got open windows, like, okay, this time you can go for shopping and this. So it was coinciding with the timelines of, your office work. So we have to manage that part, okay. Because of software industry, it was easy for us because we have we don't have the hourly status updation. We have to generally update them either at the end of the week or the month. And so it was totally fine with us. And with work from home, the productivity goes higher for our sector. If you check, the IT sector was the one which was making most profit out of the pandemic because of work from home, and people and every family had a chance to go and work from their home to their hometowns, and it was for pleasure, of course, but not a pandemic was not a pleasure. But for living with the family was their dreams, because somebody has got the chance to meet their family for this much time after they left the college. So you have to think like this was already into the market, but the pandemic made it made a forceful entry to this state of mind. And for the teams, if we talk about HR and other people which actually requires engagement in physical terms, like discussing with the parent, having lunch, dinner, to make a personal relationship, making a strong bond with the employees, that was a problem. Still, we did manage it by providing, some specific, favors to the people, like gifts, new launched items, and sending laptops, mobile phones to them to actually give them a recognition that we don't forget you, we don't have you only for your work, but also we are appreciating for every event that you are making for the rise of the world.
Thank you. I think that on one side, I think the pros being that more time spent with family, especially for IT guys who spend anything between 16 to 20 hours coding and uncoding and what have you. But then there were challenges of operational continuity, looking at tracking and maintaining performance standards. And that's where you heard Priya talk about more better reward systems, reaching out to them as an extended part of the workforce, making sure that they were kept motivated. And I'm sure the challenge would continue even in the near future as the model would evolve. Okay. Shumankarji. There are big questions being asked on HR's own competence to be able to deal with the complexities of the hybrid model. What do you think? Are we really ready, or are we there at this point of time? Have we moved from the first time that the pandemic hit to handling this situation in a much better way from where we were?
I would like to take cue from Dr. Chawla's point of view. Change is the only constant. When I say change is the only constant, then I come to Mr. Jitendra Singh's point of transformation. This is the major area where it requires to be from a traditional workforce to a digital workforce or work from home or hybrid. This pandemic has taught most of the companies that 70% of your roles, except manufacturing, 70% of your roles can be worked from home. Be it sales, be it HR, be it administration, whatever you do, it can be worked from home. So, companies saw it as a rewarding experience that they are coming down on the real estate costs. Employees are seeing it as a benefit, whether they are staying at home, their expenditures for wasting time in commuting has reduced, and people can work in flexible work hours. But it posed certain problems. What are the issues? Earlier, this employee engagement by HR was key to success for companies to retain people, good people, to understand what the employees need. But unfortunately, with the distant or remote working, this interaction between the HR department and the employees are reduced. Now, HR has to redefine itself, whether and how they are going to keep themselves relevant in the organization. They have to be always at toes. I was the skit which was there. It was looking like the HR has lost the connect with the employee. That's why a person comes with a resignation. So, understanding the psyche of the employee is the first and foremost job of HR, and understand what is to be delivered to them. So HR is definitely evolving. People are working towards it with AI coming into the fray a big way. But I think it has just begun. It requires quite a lot of steps to be taken to understand the entire HR functionality in terms of hybrid working into the consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Different levels of competence building that we see today, with certain fraternity of HR doing exemplary work, and some of that, if you go by a survey which was carried out by Gartner worldwide as to how many HR heads actually made it to the seat of the CEO during the pandemic, it will prove you that the last 24 months has seen more CHROs becoming CEOs. So obviously this was a moment for HR to step in true fundamental sense. But having said that, there's a lot of ground to yet cover. Because whether it's a leadership bandwidth or training and development, better learning opportunities, keeping experience of the employee in mind, because today employee engagement is being replaced by experience. So it's a very different kind of an exposure that an employee expects when he walks into a workplace. So there's a lot of work and a lot of ground still to be covered. I'm now going to go to Amadorya. Okay? And the question to you is, there are detractors. बहुत लोग ऐसे कह रहे हैं, naysayers, that the concept of hybrid working, it can never replace that earlier pure form of workforce management. बातें कुछ अलग थी when people used to be there in physical space and management was easy, team building was easy, everything was on a high, and the touch feel has completely gone out of the workforce management today. Your views, please, on that.
Thanks, Ms. Debjani, first for the, I think this question is very, very important. If you see how the concept of workplace arises, let me go back to the Indian history first. Okay, how the industrial revolution started. I think 70-50 to 80-50 of this time when the first time people started or looking for the job. And first time this was the era when people started to move out of their hometown, out of their places to look for some kind of a job. Like 90s was the place where people think of let me go and do different kind of job activities in other cities also. I think 2000 was the time when the IT, information technology, IT came into the place. So most of the concept of office space started. I think personal computer was evolved. This was the era of the floppy and the pen drive started, came into the place. Slowly, 2005, you will see the concept of co-working space evolved and we started then. So we see the history. There was always the workplace evolved from 1750 to now. Last 2 years, if you see, there has been so much changes. World has changed drastically due to COVID-19. When we were talking about the work-life balance, now we are talking about the work-life integration. I think 2 years back we were talking about the socialization. Now we are talking about the social distancing. These type of concepts are coming. So before we go for any specific workplace, design of a workplace, we have to think what is the right what kind of a right environment, what kind of right infrastructure is going to help the companies. If I do some small comparison, like if we take the culture, we cannot create a culture, similar culture in the office also, or at the hybrid workplace, or the remote workplace. So we have to see the culture point of view, like the decision making. Whether we can make a similar kind of a decision in a hybrid model, or we can make a decision at the faster level in the office. There was a survey done by some of the company. This was that decision is faster in the office than the work from home, I think kind of environment. So I think Rakim mentioned that work collaboration is very, very important at this point of time. But these things going to be missing. We are going for the hybrid kind of model. So there are so many things we need to discuss, I think decide before we go for a hybrid kind of a culture. No doubt, this is nothing new. Let's talk about if I give some of the example like a remote working for the remote working. If we take example of any sales organization like a pharma company. In a pharma company, suppose they have got 3,000 employees. So out of 3,000 employees, 2,500 employees will be working from the field only. So there was always people working from the field or from the remote areas. Hardly 10 to 50 or 20% company work from the offices. It is totally depend upon the management, how the management going to help, how the technology, how the company is going to take the technology, so that we have the better processes and the policies, so that we can come up with the different kind of work culture.
Thank you. Now I'll weigh the pros and cons. Only then should we go forward, not because it is being stated as the norm for tomorrow. We should just not aim it. Thank you, but it looks like we we have to do the thinking in a fast mode. Because as we are coming into place, I think the choices are just getting more and more limited. Deepak, you know the story of Zoom's CEO, very recently we heard him on the YouTube, acknowledging his own Zoom fatigue. He has gone on record saying, I am in fatigue because of the Zoom calls. And he's the Zoom CEO. And planning a hybrid model for his own company is very telling. A hybrid model is therefore being pointed to as an effective trade-off and a way to avoid issues such as digital burnout that currently weighs on the mental health and productivity of much of the remote workforce. Your comment speaks on the fact that there is a fatigue and there is a tiredness which is coming into place because of this very fast-paced digital and virtual reality which is before us. How would you like to approach that?
So see, though I am not representing Zoom, so I don't know how they are doing it, but I can give you certain perspective.
Sure.
See, as like you have not given me a dry run to answer your question, so is COVID. Okay. And might be today is COVID and tomorrow it is Delhi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So we need to understand that hybrid was always a choice. So like we don't have a choice to work hybrid. It has become a compulsion.
Exactly.
And that compulsion is not limited to one factor. It could be environmental, it could be political, it could be any other reason.
Or economic.
Yeah, or it could be economic. So I believe when such things comes, industry or a society or community or a country takes time to evolve. Might be we do not have today any immediate solutions to go and tell the guy that this is where, this is what you should do, right? While you talk about the mental fatigueness, you look at the awareness also around it. I have not seen such awareness of yoga, such awareness of people doing a lot of different kind of ergonomics inside the office. There are a lot of apps also came now, which keeps you reminding that, hey, you have to waste a lot of time on the screen. Why did you take a break? Have you taken enough water? A lot of things, right? So what I believe is, this is a journey which we all have started just now. Might be I represent an essential product like a milk, which is a dairy need. Look at the soldier who is on the border line and fighting. Can he do an hybrid work culture? Right? There will be never a choice. So there are a lot of perspective as he has suggested in pharmaceutical industry. So do I represent an essential product. It could be any. I think what is important for us to look at, whatever possibilities we have, let's have such discussions quite often. There has to be discussions where other than the industry, there has to be a policy makers, there has to be the influencers, there has to be one who knows a different subject matter. And then come out of such things, what could be the possibilities we should do? While technology was helping, now it has creating certain problem, right? People who are working from home was a boon earlier. Now people are saying that I am never out of work. And someone has also said today that the office is, now the office is going to home, rather you are going to office from home. So I think this is a time of incubation. People are realizing that the things are changing. We need to prepare ourselves. What could we do better? What has gone wrong? And each company and their thinking tanks are talking the same. I think we should also look at that. The other aspect of it is the social security. Like when this thing came, they have different challenge because people were the technology company. We had a challenge as give people confidence that your social security is insecure. It is secure. First of all, we made our house in proper order. I spoke to my MDs and I said, why don't you go and speak to the people and say that their job is safe. The first thing which came to the people, a lot of people lost their job. Forget about the people who have a lot of job, but there are a lot of people who lost the job, who are not a part of essential product. So my MD, I requested him that you go and say people that the job is safe. You go and say people that we are standing behind you. It's any kind of medical insecurity, any kind of emergency, we are right behind you. We went to the people and said that opt for vaccination because it was so difficult. So we have gone to the people and said that we are sponsoring your vaccination. It was very costly to get that. First getting the time slot and then getting the money for it. Everybody is not so much, could not afford that, right? It was costly. So we have given that kind of a mental satisfaction and strength in empowering people that we are standing with you. This is what we were fighting in our category. And then when this is done, then we have started realizing people with different kind of rewards given to them. We have announced a lot of programs who had been really freedom. I mean, it's not less than a freedom fight, because you understand there was a lot of threat. People were not coming out of home, and let me tell you that one of the IM batch I have had, a lot of IM batchmates, I mean, there are 4 or 5 guys, they left us without a job with that fear they have had. When there will be a life, then we will work back. So I think it is a more of insecurity, more of being coming together. It is just not one mental fatigueness. The issue is much larger.
Beautifully said. As you said, one formula does not fit all over here. And I think, as echoed by all my panelists here, the journey has just begun. I think we saw in some form or the other, everyone talking about the fact that this is just the start, or maybe the first steps of the journey. And we've met with some amount of learning, we've had some pitfalls, we are also picking up the threads where we need to do that. Having said so, there's a long route that needs to be capitalized upon. I think we are all working on shared learnings, and thank you for that suggestion, that we should actually keep having these discussions more often. And especially with the think tank, the policymakers, and the who's who. So thank you, Allenhouse, for actually bringing such a contemporary topic over here. I wish I could have asked one more small round where just one word. So if I were to, okay, I'll go from sequence here. So Priyank, if I were to ask you that one word, or maybe 2 words in the max, okay, some things which are required by the fraternity together to meet with this challenge of a hybrid workforce, what kind of competence would you want today's management to bring to the table to deal with it? This is not HR specific, this is management specific per se.
More technical.
Okay.
Awareness.
Okay.
About your belongings, and what are the innovations that are coming up in your surroundings that could help.
That could be identifying the solutions. Great, thank you. All my panelists now. 1 or 2 key competencies that you want the management to be aware of and demonstrate, execute, so that we are able to collectively meet with this hybrid challenge effectively.
Number 1, the transformation through digitization and making people, the organization people-centric. Number 1 is this.
By that you mean having people become a part of the journey?
Yes.
Okay.
The last script, the 56-year-old lady, she did not know what is the decision going to be taken by the management. That is required, because if you are taking a decision, you have to take all the stakeholders holding hands. Number 1. Number 2, HR roles should not be limited to only creating payrolls, because we are not engaging people and maintaining the leave records. That is the least what HR need to do. HR roles needs to be more probing, they should do more psychometric analysis of the and engage people with them. Third, one should train train the workforce or manpower on emerging technologies. Emerging technologies like AI, ML, those who are completed enough, or implementation of those AI, ML, because until they are aware of the pluses of AI and ML in their life, people will not take it seriously. That's what I think.
Thank you. Essential to look. If we can bring that skill in an organization, both for HR as well as other functions, then in a way, cohesively, we can address these problems in a better way. That's my part. So, yours.
Day before yesterday evening, when we had our weekly review, HR review, this point was exactly brought up, and we were discussing that what needs to be done to address this new age development that has happened. And one of the things which you are looking for in the answer is that this is a completely new field of study now. Managing hybrid work is a completely new field of study. Like there was a time when we had sales training, there was a time when we had finance for non-finance kind of training. I think it is time when we start having training of leaders, of managers
on managing the hybrid style of work. And when I say that, I mean that just imagine this workshop being conducted in a hybrid mode. So 7 of us sitting here, but let's say another 3 of us sitting online and being a participant online. So as a moderator, how would you ensure that they feel equally involved as the rest 6 of us are feeling, right? So they do not feel missing out on any of the aspects of the personal connect that we are enjoying here. So that is going to be a reality in every meeting, in every discussion in organizations from now. And unless and until people are taught how to handle that thin line of difference between these 2 modes, we are up for a great disaster.
Beautiful, thank you. Great answer. Yes, Deepak.
I have 3 things in my mind just now when you asked. 2 of them we are already doing it, 1 just came. See, I think when there is a lot of disruption happens, as we discussed in the first round of discussion, the one competence or one of the attributes which I would like to work on is the compassion. Be it a 56 years old lady or maybe a young one, I think the compassion is very, very important, which plays a larger role for someone to get settled, comfortable, and then be a part of the journey. The second thing which I feel is learning agility, because today it is one thing, tomorrow it will be another. We are only talking what we have seen and listened and perceived. Might be something which is waiting, we have not
adapted.
Yeah. So learning agility is the second thing which is very, very important. Whatever it may be, we are ready, and we will do it right with speed. And the third thing which is important is training people, as is rightly said, is collaboration, offline to online. Because any business goal cannot be achieved if it is not well collaborated within and across. So it is important that how we should develop that thing within us. An offline collaboration we had been doing since ages and history, but now this is an online collaboration and a hybrid collaboration.
Right.
This is in mind.
Split week model also. But overall, that company will decide based on their competency, based on their internal process. Finally, the outcome should be at the end, employees should be happy. Once your employees are happy, they can be more productive and they can be in the future at the asset.
Lovely, and it was enriching for all of you. We have formally come to the end of our discussion. If there are some quick questions which you will allow us to take, we'll take it. Or for the sake of time, we can always wrap it up right here.
To help organizations review their recruitment policies and increase diversity at the workplace.
See, even if it is not happening. So I see how we have done it during, even in COVID times, we were hiring people, right? How we do that? Video conferencing interview COVID के पहले भी था. It is since I started my career. It was not like that कि अभी आया Zoom और ये सारी चीजें. So we were doing it. What I have done new this time, that will help you to understand. Virtual onboarding was new this time. Because it was, I cannot wait for the person, or mind the person cannot come down, but he has to he has to start performing. So we went for the virtual onboarding. So for that we prepared ourselves. We make certain videos. We make certain. Let me tell you 1-2 things which is very important for you to understand. And because COVID never allowed us the time to prepare, and I will come and I'm knocking the door. It just came and we realized one day. We started implementation of AI-based HRMS. So I got Darwin, which is one of the very contemporary software for HRMS, implemented in my company, which allow us with a lot of hybrid flexibilities. So to do recruitment or onboarding or even bringing diversity. I have also onboarded learning management solutions, one of the most pioneer, so that I could go and train people offline. They cannot come now online, they cannot come to the classrooms. These are the initiatives. I think technology is one solution to make this thing happen. And you have to have the advances in technology, and that costs you money, big money.
When interviews are being done through technology, and I'm not talking about video-based interviews, I'm talking about artificial intelligence interview. So the management trainee selection process, which we were running, that had a group discussion round, and it was not possible to do a fair group discussion analysis sitting virtual. So what we did was we replaced that with AI. And now what is happening is students like you, they are getting questions asked by a computer. They are responding to the computer. The computer is evaluating them, and the computer is telling me whether Saud is rejected or Deepak is selected. And then I am just getting a short list, and then I'm taking that short list to Devyani, and Devyani is selecting the final one or two of them. So that process is already being done through artificial intelligence. Was this technology not available before? Of course it was available. But I never dared to try it unless and until it was because of the COVID. That's how it is.
Watch the BMW ad on, how AI interviews are taking the world by storm. I mean, it's something which is unthinkable. It was unthinkable till yesterday, but today it's a damn reality.
So that employees continuously innovating the hybrid work model.
This kind of model, right? But definitely company for the IT tech kind of thing, they are doing it. They are putting artificial intelligence, AI in place, software, where I think technologies are coming at this point of time. These technologies companies are utilizing. There will not be any fixed model, right? There will be available 4 or 5 models. You have to choose the best for out of them. One model may not be suitable for another company. This will purely has to evolve over a period of time. If you see the manufacturing, I think company like us, during the second wave we were operating, we were doing, but some of the jobs like merchandising, marketing, part of HR, finance, legal, they were doing the house based or the hybrid kind of work.
I'm just going to hybridize the workforce, how it is done. So RPA is the next thing apart from AI, and that's what you should look for. See, there are lots of ways to engage with the employees. And if employees likes the job, if he likes the job, he will definitely perform to the interest of the organization. I personally feel it's something like studying. If you just create interest of the student in the subject, student will study. Similarly, employers have to look after the employees so that that job becomes precious. Google doesn't have to think about retaining employees because people won't leave. Microsoft doesn't think about retaining employees because their policies and processes are so sound that it tracks person's performance and it rewards them. See, it's not danda everywhere you have to do. You have to give them positive incentives for their performance. When you see your colleague is getting incentivized on a job, so you will also like to work for that, towards that goal. So that is how enforcement, positive enforcement is done.
Incentivization. And now with the hybrid version coming in, there will be some which will help the in-person people who still continue to work out of offices, which is going to be as it used to be, most predominantly. But for people who are going to be more working out of remote locations, we will have to find out a little more innovative ways in order to reach out to them and to reward them. Something which Bilal had also mentioned right at the start of our discussion. So it's going to be different strokes for different folks, but it very much will still be bent on some of the fundamental factors which characterize a remote system.
So it could be like there are various practices which are already onto the market, like if you have heard about agile practices. This set define a way of meeting, like okay, in the daily morning, the first thing that has to happen is a stand-up meeting. Then we have a sync-up meeting in the afternoon. At the end of the day, we can have a status update or whatever you have done and what are your plans for tomorrow. And this could be facilitated with various platforms like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or Skype even. I mean, Skype is being also used for the same purpose. Slack. So there are multiple ways to achieve this, and you as an organization has to find or check like, okay, which is the most suitable way of doing that.
Thank you, sir.
In the interest
Extend a certain hospitality, number one. And number two is, I am also thankful to Raunak who has looked after me very well. Thank you very much.
on behalf of all of us.
Yes.
Living the life itself is a challenge, so let's take it gracefully. Right? I am a differentiated person in this crowd with the universe of these HR people. I am the only academician. He is not willing. He has some assignments. He is expecting some more. But since I am in this office gathering of HR people, but the advantage which I have that I have been dealing with the placements for the last 28 years. So I would like to keep this discussion by setting it to one differentiated round from the last, where everyone is supposed to answer the question. I will set a tone and then I would like to have the views of everyone. And these views can be based on the student's perspective. Because you see, joining a business school, ultimately the end result is your placement, which is important not only for you but for the society also. So, if you see the employment scenario after COVID, there is a significant changes. Plus, there is a significant shift in consumer behavior. There is a changing shift in social behavior because the society itself has gone through a revolution. Plus, one of the big things which when I was a kid, used to think that working abroad was a lucrative offer. But I don't think today working abroad is a lucrative offer. Maybe thanks to the developed state of our country. And then work hands-on is a fashion now. Earlier, work hands-on was not a fashion. Today, if you are a technocrat, you would like to be more independent rather than being more dependent on your subordinates. Plus, in today's era, in the workforce, every employee has to develop a digital persona. If you have a good digital persona, I think you can think better performance from all point of view. Plus, we have seen success of China. One of the big contribution in the success of China is social credit experiment. Socially, the society is very disciplined because as per your social credit, you get employment chances. If your social credit is not good, it is not easy for you to get a job in a prospective company. Plus, what you see, trust is the new currency of the future. Because in this hybrid model, you have to believe that the motivation and the performance of each and every employee in an organization should be at the optimum. But there is a revolution in the sense of creativity. You have to cope and conquer through resilience. These are the new things which are part of the new workforce. But from the student point of view, I am just referring to the survey of EY. It is said that 9% of jobs in the world will be of different nature which never existed earlier. And 37% of the job will radically change. So practically, what you find, 56% of the job structure will change. And only 54% job will remain the same, but the extent of role of technology in their performance will be totally different. So I would like to give you some examples that what type of new jobs are expected to be in future. There is a new job which will be coming, that is growth hackers. Or there is a new type of job which will be coming, that is social media manager. Today, in this, every company has to digitally revolutionize. So most of the companies have found that they want someone who is good in digital working, and they keep a social media manager or SEO analyst, search engine optimizer, or a lot of simple organizations. Now they are willing to recruit technical writers or technical writers or technical writers. So with these point of view, I would like to let my panel members to talk something which can help students to think of workforce in the future, where they can skill themselves so that they start preparing those skills right in advance. And we can also talk with reference to fairness and enlightenment through automation. So I would like to have first thought from Mr. Shashank, because he comes from an innovative company. So let the innovation start from there. Shashank sir.
Organizing this and setting the context. From an employment perspective or a jobs perspective, I would strongly second what you mentioned that comes to the new currency. So we are living in an economy which is evolving into a gig economy. So people are more getting into multiple gigs, doing multiple things at the same time. And someone earlier on mentioned that now there are so many opportunities that jobs are actually increased, not reduced. So from a future perspective, I would touch upon one of the articles I read today, written by a professor here on your document, which said metaverse is the new social media. Now when you're talking about metaverse and social media in general, this also mentioned social media manager being one of the new things, growth hackers being one of the new things. We're going to see interdisciplinary roles come up, such as someone with a mathematics and psychology honors background helping make sense of the data analysis on behavior of an individual on social media. That's an actual position that was launched by Facebook about a month ago. So they're looking for people with such background who can give an insight into how people are reacting on social media platforms. Now this is when you take social media into account. At the work we do, we are looking at candidates who can be product owners. Now this is a new sort of language that is coming up, not a product manager, not a product leader, but a product owner. What that entails is you understand the engineering behind it, you also understand the user side of it. So you are no longer going to be branded as an engineer, as a programmer. Yes, if you are into hardcore software development, definitely. But even then you will now have to take into account what kind of experience are you delivering from your work. And you have to understand by being the foot of the customer. So within our firm, there is a customer-centric approach we apply across the board. Be it a social media manager, be it a tech guy, be it a finance person. Everyone has to understand the customer before actually coming ahead of a solution or working on the solution. So the future of work essentially is looking at a bit of everything but specialization in something. So don't be, as they say, the king of generalism. Be specific to one but understand everything from the user's perspective. Lastly, on an automation standpoint, AI and ML, people talk about the insights that they give in. I would say more than AI and ML, it is the data analysis and the statistics that come into play, which help people make sense and head and tail of what is happening, how teams are performing. So you have to think of a way where tools such as Slack have become very synonymous in work culture. So you have to be updated with Slack, how things are coming up. And this technology onboarding is happening everywhere now, be it in automation, be it in manufacturing, be it in IT. So you have to be well versed in what that technology means. Technology is nothing but a tool end of the day, be it AI, be it machine learning, be it data analytics, or just a simple Python code. So understand how you can use the tool, and if you can capture these three components, you will be unstoppable in whatever field you set your mind to. Thank you.
Yeah, Shashank, well said. So, illustration. Earlier when Infosys started, payment structure was much better, and it was not necessary that you should be a technocrat to get that job. If you remember, in the Sunday Times of India, there is a crossword. So, employment scenario in Infosys was open 24/7. You have to visit the office, take an appointment, and appear in a crossword examination. And if you succeed, you get a job, irrespective whether you would be no computer software. So the mental strengthening in the future job structure is going to be very important, because independence will have a lot of meaning. Now, from innovative thoughts, I am proceeding to something which is a passion for youth. I remember when Rocky film was used, first time Sanjay Dutt in his film used Yamaha motorcycle. So I was in class 8th or 9th. I have always thought that let me have a Yamaha bike to have someone very valuable with me wherever I go. So I think I will invite Mr. Veer Bharat to explain Yamaha's perspective, because Japanese have given a lot of lesson to the world. In fact, Japan is the only country which faced crisis of atom bomb, but this atom bomb is the responsible factor which made them developed country. Right? So, Mr. V. Bharat, your point will help the student to understand better.
Thank you, audience here. I would like to talk on 3 aspects, and that I refer as 3R. So the first R is risk, the second R is resilience, and the third R is reimagination. So what we are today facing is the risk. So today, the business has struggling, and some business has, come up after, struggling phase. So, we have to think risk in a very different perspective. Today we have COVID, tomorrow we may have something else. So, how we are preparing ourselves to take those challenges in the future, that we need to understand with the risk. Risk can be divided into 3 aspects. One is the known risk, which we can mitigate. One is the the learning from the past risk, and the third one is the future risk. And that for that we have to prepare ourselves. And resilience play very important role. The next R that I am going to explain with you is that if you are resilient, you can tackle any such risk in the future. And what things make you resilient is the compassion and the understanding about your people. How you understand your people and how you can react to that. That as a leader you have to understand that. The last one is the R that I would like to give you the highlights on, the reimagination. When I say reimagination consists 3 aspects: the work, the workplace, and the workforce. So what is the work is going to be, and I request the students to listen, because the people who are going to be part of the future of work. So the future of work is going to be human-machine interface. You have to learn that how machine and human can work together, and that kind of work is going to be, and you should be prepared for that. If I talk about the workplace is going to be digital. So it's a mix of physical and the digital combination. And the most challenging part that you have to learn is that how you can grow without having a physical supervision. Today we know when we join any organization, we have opportunity to see that how leaders are doing, how leaders are working, and then you understand and learn. But in tomorrow, that opportunity is not available. So you have to learn and cope up with this new digital workplace that I am talking about, or you can call it as a hybrid workplace. So that is one challenge that I see. And the last one, which is the workforce. So which you are going to be part of in future. So today, if you see the full-time job, that may not be there in the future. So maybe a question may come in your mind that why should it bother me that if tomorrow, if it is not the full-time job, so what is going to be the differentiation factor? The differentiation factor would be that today you learn something, you become a specialist and you get the job. But tomorrow this is not going to work. You have to keep learning yourself, because you will be only in demand if you have the right skill set with you. If you don't have the right skill set, the people, you will not get the job. So you can just replace today what Uber and Ola model is. That is going to be a workforce model, and we can call it as a Uberization of the workforce model, which means that you will be only in demand if you have the right skill set with you. If you don't have the right skill set, you will not get the job. So learning agility is going to be very important, that you have to be prepared of. And if you talk about the HR role in future, what I see or foresee, today HR role is to attract talent, retain talent, and develop talent. But tomorrow the HR role is going to be the access talent, so how quickly you can access the right talent, how you can quickly curate them with your requirement, and then how you can engage them. So these are the major, future of work that I can foresee with respect to the theme that we have kept today. Thank you.
Nothing has no age today. If you see, one of the most successful company today is Paytm. I was once I got the opportunity to meet Mr. Varun Sridhar. He is the CEO of the Paytm. He said, when I started this technology company, I was not knowing coding, and any young people who knows coding used to tell me so many things I was not able to understand. He said at the age of 52 he started learning coding, and he learned it, and today is a champion. So learning doesn't have any age. So you need to understand that your life skill for the new normal is continuous learning. And if this is not there, it will be very difficult to cope up with the workforce, which is the need of the future. So today in our discussion, I am inviting a man who is said to be from a company called Taste of India. Now they have created a revolution and made an example that how cooperatives can be turned into commerciality and to big profit and being the most popular brand of the country. So
मैं अपनी राष्ट्रभाषा में कुछ चीज़ कहने का ज़्यादा पसंद करूँगा। मैं जेके उपाध्याय बनास डेयरी अमूल लखनऊ प्लांट से हूँ। एक्चुअली जो अमूल का रिवॉल्यूशंस है, अभी आप लोगों ने कुरियन साहब का नाम सुना होगा, अभी 100th बर्थ एनिवर्सरी उनका मनाया गया। तो एक्चुअली जो ये रिवॉल्यूशन था वो किस, जैसे सर ने बताया कि मुझे उस दिशा में आप लोगों को बताना है। एक मैं कोऑपरेटिव के तहत बात कर रहा हूँ, तो व्हाट इज द रिवॉल्यूशन डीड इन द कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर। पहले क्या था, जो पॉल्सन करके जो एक कंपनी आई थी, वो पॉल्सन का एक्सप्लॉयटेशन मिल्क के उसके अंदर ऐसा हो गया कि जिसके कारण जो सारे फार्मर्स थे, मिल्क को देने वाले थे, उन लोगों के अंदर एक जैसे भीति जैसा हो गया। जो लोग इलिटरेट थे उन लोगों का बेनिफिट लेके, जिन लोगों के पास पैसे ज्यादा था, टैलेंट ज्यादा था, उन लोगों ने क्या किया, एक्सप्लॉयटेशन करना शुरू किया। तो वल्लभ भाई पटेल के जो भाई थे, उनको ऐसा लगा कि भाई अभी इसके अंदर मुझे कुछ करना होगा। तो गुजरात में एक क्रांति का उद्भव हुआ, व्हाइट रिवॉल्यूशन उसके अंदर से उद्भवित हुआ। कोऑपरेटिव के अंदर उन्होंने घूम के पूरा एक संघ का निर्माण किया, अमूल का। ऐसे ही हमारा जो संघ है, बनास डेयरी जो बोलते हैं, बनासकांठा डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोऑपरेटिव मिल्क प्रोड्यूसर्स यूनियन लिमिटेड, उसके अंदर में भी गल्बा भाई पटेल करके, गल्बा भाई नानजी भाई पटेल, उन्होंने लोगों को एक एक जगह पे गांव में जाके जागृत किया। जागृत करके उन लोगों को बताया कि भाई एक्चुअली आप लोग जो मेहनत करते हैं उसका पैसा आपकी जेब में आना चाहिए, उसका बेनिफिट कोई और ले रहा है, तो उसको कैसे किया जाए। तो उस वक्त में पहले ऐसा एक कहावत था, आप लोग शायद जानते होंगे, दूध देना और पूत देना, जैसे राजस्थान में भी था, गुजरात में भी था। दूध देना और पूत देना माना दोनों को सेम मानते थे, माना दूध को बेचा नहीं जाता था। लेकिन एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग करके इन लोगों को एक साथ में यूनिटी करके एक संघ का निर्माण करके, पहले 6 गांव थे, मात्र 6 गांव, जिन्होंने इनको सपोर्ट किया था। तो ये एक आज इतना बड़ा कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर अमूल अभी हमारा बनासकांठा डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोऑपरेटिव मिल्क लिमिटेड हो गया। अभी हमारे पास 17,000 के करीब कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटीज है। और इन लखनऊ what we are telling that we are having more than 200 societies over here। तो कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर्स का हम लोगों ने डेवलपमेंट यहाँ पे किया, कैसे मिल्क को प्रोक्योर किया जाएगा, उसका सर्टेन टर्म्स कंडीशंस को उसको साथ में लेते हुए, आईएसओ के तमाम नियमों का पालन करते हुए, गवर्नमेंट के सारे नियमों को साथ में लेते हुए। मिल्क माना ऐसा नहीं है कि पेरिशेबल आइटम है, चलो भाई बेच दिया दिया तो हमारा काम हो गया, ऐसी बात नहीं है। ब्रांडेड वैल्यू को एक मार्केट के अंदर में स्थापित किया, उसमें लोगों का ट्रस्ट जो जीता, उसके लिए एक प्रचंड पुरुषार्थ, उसके साथ में एक प्रचंड संकल्प। मैं एक चीज को कहना चाहूंगा कि गुजराती में उन्होंने एक चीज कहा था, द सेंटेंस वाज वेरी पॉपुलर इन गुजराती, मारा छेवाड़ाना गामમાં जो एक कोई पण विधवा महिला પોતાના દાતરડાના હાથે પોતાના બાળકોનું ભરણ પોષણ કરી શકે એવા ધંધાને મારે વિકસાવવા છે। તો व्हाट इज द मीनिंग? तो कोई वीडो है वो अपने बच्चे का परिपालन करने के लिए अपने हाथ में जो ये कटर है उसको लेके अपने बच्चों का परिपालन मात्र पशुपालन से कर सके, ऐसा बिजनेस मुझे डेवलप करना है। ऐसा गलबा भाई का जो स्वप्न था उसके बेस पे ये पूरा एक ये डिजर्ट के अंदर में जहाँ पे एकदम कहीं बिल्कुल पानी नहीं है, ऐसे क्षेत्र में जो बनासकांठा बोलते हैं हम लोगों को भगवान की दया है, यहाँ पे हम लोगों को गंगा यमुना सब मिले हुए हैं और वहाँ पे बनास करके जो नदी है वो अंतस्थ नदी है। एक चीज कहना चाहूंगा, वहाँ पानी नहीं है, वहाँ पानी नहीं है। हम लोगों को सीजन में हम लोगों को पानी के टैंकर मंगवाने पड़ते हैं। ऐसी सिचुएशन में ऐसा डेवलपमेंट किया, ऐसा मैनेजमेंट किया कि सुबह में 4:30-5 बजे तो वहाँ के गांव की औरतें सब भी आज की तारीख में सब ये करके सुबह में 6 बजे आपके घर पे बिल पहुँच सके, उस हिसाब से सब आयोजन करके कोऑपरेटिव एक्ट के तहत वहाँ के जो डायरेक्टर से चुन के बाद में उसका मंत्री और मंत्रियों से चुन के चेयरमैन की वरणी की जाती है। तो ऐसे हमारा पूरा कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर चल रहा है और उसके तहत आज हम लोग 76 लीटर्स 70 लाख लीटर्स पर डे मिल्क हम लोग ले रहे हैं और जल्दी से जल्दी हम लोग 1 करोड़ लाख मिल्क के करीब हम लोग टच हो जाएंगे। मेरा कहने का मतलब क्या है कि जैसे ये सर ने बताया कि भाई देखो कोऑपरेटिव एक्ट के तहत काम करना है या हम लोगों को उसमें आगे बढ़ना है, तो इट इज ऑल्सो मैनेजमेंट। तो हम लोगों का इरमा करके कोर्स वहाँ पे भी होता है। एक आपको एक इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए बता दूं, वो रूरल मैनेजमेंट का ये एक रहता है। तो हमारे जो सीनियर्स है वो लोग इरमा करके हमारे यहाँ पे डेब्यूट किए जाते हैं। और दूसरी बात एक ये है कि हम लोग टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में या तो गवर्नमेंट के नॉर्म्स के परिपालन में कहीं भी कोई कसर नहीं करते हैं। हमारे यहाँ अभी जो 30% मिल्क जो है हम लोगों को कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर से मिल सकता है, यहाँ पे मिलता है। जैसे कि यूपी के अंदर में कोऑपरेटिव का इतना सारा अवेयरनेस नहीं है, तो हम लोगों को 70% ऑफ मिल्क है वो अभी भी हम लोगों को गुजरात से लाना पड़ता है। तो टेक्नोलॉजी में हम लोग इतने एडवांस है कि हमने हमारे सारे टैंकर्स है वो सारे टैंकर्स के अंदर में जीपीएस कनेक्ट करके रखा हुआ है कि कहीं उसके अंदर में कोई एडल्ट्रेशन ना हो पाए, कहीं इसके अंदर में कोई किसी चीज के साथ में पानी या कुछ चीज मिला के या मिल्क के साथ में कोई ऐसा ना हो कि ताकि लोगों के साथ में या हमारे ट्रेडमार्क के साथ में किसी की हेल्थ के साथ में कहीं प्रॉब्लम हो। तो टेक्नोलॉजी इज एवरीवेयर, हम उस चीज को यूज कर रहे हैं। एज ए बीइंग एचआर पर्सन में एक चीज ये भी कहना चाहूंगा, जो एसएपी है वो एसएपी का हम लोग यूज 2011 में, जैसे मेरा जब अपॉइंटमेंट हुआ था बनास डेयरी में, तब से हम लोग इसको यूज कर रहे हैं। तो इसके द्वारा पूरे सारे प्लांट है जो हमारा बनासकांठा डिस्ट्रिक्ट जो मैंने मेन बताया पालनपुर में सिचुएटेड है, दूसरा प्लांट हमारा हरियाणा में फरीदाबाद में है, तो तीसरा प्लांट यहाँ जयपुर कानपुर माती में है और चौथा ये लखनऊ जहाँ से मैं आया हूँ। तो वो सारे प्लांट का सैलरी, सारे प्लांट का अटेंडेंस, सारे प्लांट का कैजुअल लीव, सारे प्लांट का पीएल, सारे प्लांट का सारा जो भी वेलफेयर एमिनिटीज जो भी है उस चीजों को उसी के द्वारा एक फॉर्म में लाने के लिए एसएपी के द्वारा हम लोग ये काम कर रहे हैं 2011 से। जितने हमारे गुजरात के यूनियन है, टोटल 19 यूनियन है सर, उसमें से हम लोगों का एक यूनियन है उसका सक्सेसफुली एसएपी चल रहा है। बाकी के लोग ने एसएपी लिया, वो एसएपी को थोड़े टाइम के लिए उन लोगों ने मेंटेन किया, बाद में उन लोगों ने छोड़ दिया क्योंकि इट इज अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू मेंटेन द एसएपी। बिकॉज क्या होता है कोई डेटा जो है वो कभी मिलता है, कभी डेटा एम्प्लॉइज का नहीं मिलता है, लेकिन हमारा जो सिस्टम चल रहा है वो सिस्टम को हम साथ में लेके चल रहे हैं। तो मैं एक चीज सब स्टूडेंट्स को भी कहना चाहूंगा कि यदि हम लोगों को टेक्नोलॉजिकली एडवांस होना है तो ये सारे आईटी की सिस्टम के साथ में हम लोगों को अपडेट होके उस चीज को भी साथ में लेके चलना पड़ेगा, तब जाके हम कुछ अच्छी तरह कर पाएंगे। अभी प्रोविडेंट फंड हो गया, ईएसआईसी हो गया, ये सारी जो गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम्स है, तो गवर्नमेंट की जो बेनिफिशियरी स्कीम और वेलफेयर के जो एक्ट है, उसके भी सारे पोर्टल्स हम लोगों के पोर्टल्स के अंदर में हम लोगों को एंट्री करनी होती है। इवन इन द फैक्ट्रीज जो बोलते हैं, उसमें भी लेबर वेलफेयर का है, उसका जो फैक्ट्रीज एक्ट का जो सारे नॉर्म्स है, वो भी हम लोगों को उसी के थ्रू ही अपने को परिपालन करने हैं। सारे फॉर्म्स हम लोगों को ऑनलाइन सबमिट करने हैं। तो जो हम लोग पहले मैनुअल काम करते थे, जब मैंने जॉब शुरू किया था 1997 में प्राइवेट इंडस्ट्रीज में, तो उस वक्त का जो नेचर था वो पूरा चेंज हो गया। 2001 के अंदर में जैसे मैंने बनास डेयरी को जब ज्वाइन किया था, उस वक्त से देखो तो एक चीज था, पहले माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का जो वर्जन आया था डीओसी बेस हम लोग काम करते थे। डीओसी बेस में से बाद में वर्ड एक्सेल के ऊपर आया, अभी जो है उसमें भी हम लोग एडवांस वर्जन को यूज कर रहे हैं, और उसमें भी दिन प्रतिदिन जितनी टेक्नोलॉजीज हमारी नई आती जाती है, उसके थ्रू अभी हमारा ईएसएस पोर्टल बना हुआ है। सारे का सारा एम्प्लॉई का डिटेल है, इवन पे स्लिप भी हम लोग ईएसएस पोर्टल के थ्रू डाउनलोड करके यूज करते हैं। उसमें उसका कैजुअल लीव का बैलेंस है, प्रिविलेज लीव का बैलेंस है, मेडिकल लीव का बैलेंस है, लेडीज का मैटरनिटी लीव का क्या स्टेटस है, ये भी उसके अंदर में हम लोगों को मालूम होता है। तो आईटी के सेक्टर में ऑटोमेशन जो बात चल रही है, उसमें भी हम लोगों को एडवांस करना पड़ता है। तो ये सब हमारी बनास डेयरी के लिए था। इट इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द प्राइवेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, तो थोड़ा आप लोगों को हटके इसके लिए मैंने थोड़ा ये बताया है। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Food of the thought, and at the end I will just give you everything in one thought. In future, if you want to reinvent the workforce, you have to think for analytics, and analytics for all is the mantra. If you can apply analytics on your skill, if you can apply analytics on the job skills required, and if you can correlate with these two, probably you will land up in the right place of workforce, and you will have a fruitful career. Thank you, and we are open for the question.
My contribution from CS third year. As I am a computer science student, I would like to know that how can every organization have access to the smart hybrid work technology, keeping cost optimization in consideration.
And automation in the hybrid context actually goes in different ways if you look at it. One is a top-down approach where the executive decided and they offset the costs. The second way is when you're talking about a hybrid culture and how, in essence, if
Yeah, we can change it.
yeah, this is right. So एक टॉप डाउन अप्रोच है जिसमें टॉप एग्जेक्टिव्स ने डिसाइड किया है एंड वो अकोमोडेट करते हैं आपका, लेकिन अगर कॉस्ट इफेक्टिवली की आप बात करेंगे, आई वुड गिव यू द पर्सपेक्टिव फ्रॉम अ प्रोडक्ट इनोवेशन लेंस. When you're thinking of a tool, look at what is the usability that you get from it. So one of the approaches that we employ in our company is very simple, कि हमें रिजल्ट क्या चाहिए, पहले रिजल्ट डिसाइड करते हैं. What do we want to achieve? Once you've decided the result, then what is the exact rule that we need to accommodate in? Such as example, if you're looking at a attendance system, जैसे हमने एक attendance system बनाया था, actually डेयरी के लिए बनाया था locally. So वो उसमें attendance system पे उनका पर्पस बहुत सिंपल था, मुझे जानना है कि लोग कब आते हैं, कितने बजे जाते हैं. If you're looking for a Zoom for digital conferencing, then Zoom gives you multiple packages. So आप by default basic ले लोगे, experience करोगे. But if you need it for a webinar perspective, तो Zoom आपको महंगा पड़ेगा, उससे बेहतर you can go for something else. So you should always know exactly what you're using the tool for. That's why I refer to technology typically as a tool, not as something grander than that.
Spirit of technology.
Two-word answer that I'd like to give to your question exactly. The answer is cloud computing.
Of a workplace can be covered digitally, and is it possible for all kinds of work?
No. So all the aspects cannot be covered in a digital way. Maybe in future it may, yes, but today if I see the whole job roles in the organization, so every job roles cannot be made digital, through the digital workplace. Definitely the manufacturing happens in the manufacturing lines, and and you need machines and the environment to produce results. But yes, many of the notion earlier that the jobs and roles which cannot be made virtual, now we are seeing and experiencing it that it can be virtual. So like my role being an HR, I'm just going 2 days physically to the office now. Whereas earlier we haven't thought of that what is work from home. So yes, things are changing, but you cannot say that 100% the digital would be there. Maybe in future it is, but today not.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I have one add-on to that. When you're talking about automation, particularly in the manufacturing space, Dr. Gupta actually mentioned earlier on that you have to understand the human interaction with the technology. So manufacturing has started to get automated abroad. So in India, the answer is no, as sir said. But you're looking at towards the end of the decade where you'll have automated manufacturing come into place, such as additive manufacturing, 3D printing becoming a very growing space, right? So example, Tesla is already manufacturing its chassis purely based on 3D printing and forged. They have their own big forged cast for sheet metal printing, right? So you will see a lot of automation coming into manufacturing space, but that is towards the end of the decade. So the question you need to ask yourself is, as a mechanical engineer, how do I position myself towards that? Do I look at mechatronics as a way going forward? Do I look at getting some AI and ML understanding for it? That's for you to decide. But essentially, you're looking towards the end of the decade for automation, at least that's my assumption, in the manufacturing space.
जो भी हमारे जयपुर मादी में हमारा प्लांट है, मुझे पता चला आप में से कई लोगों ने वहाँ पे विजिट किया है। आप हो सके तो मैं लखनऊ के लिए भी जब मान लो ओमिक्रॉन का ये हो जाता है फिर बाद में इनवाइट करूँगा, तो आप लोगों को मिल्क आता हुआ दिखेगा कि मिल्क वहाँ पे मिल्क रिसेप्शन सेंटर पे मिल्क आ रहा है। वो मिल्क आपको जब डिस्पैच हो रहा होगा तब वो पाउच के अंदर में दिखेगा, बाकी वो मिल्क आपको पूरे प्लांट के अंदर कहीं दिखेगा नहीं। उतना जबरदस्त ऑटोमेशन से हमारा प्लांट भी कार्यरत है। तो वो पूरा मिल्क के अंदर में पैस्चराइजेशन होता है, वहां से लेके पूरी प्रोसेस होने के बाद में पैकिंग होता है। वहां पे आपको पैकिंग होने के बाद वो डिस्पैच के लिए आएगा, वहां दिखेगा। बाकी स्काडा का सिस्टम है, उसको जिस LMP जो बोलते हैं लिक्विड मिल्क प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट, तो उसके थ्रू जिस डिपार्टमेंट को जितना मिल्क चाहिए वो भी बिल्कुल अनटच वे में हम लोग देते हैं, ताकि वो पेरिशेबल आइटम है, वो कहीं इसके साथ में कंजक्टेबल कोई भी डिसीज या किसी को है तो वो कहीं पे ट्रांसप्लांट को दूसरी जगह पे ट्रांसफर ना हो। इसलिए इस चीज को हम केयर करते हुए करते हैं। हमारी तो टोटल टेक्नोलॉजी को हमने पहले से अडॉप्ट किया हुआ है। तो ये जो ऑटोमेशन का बात चल रहा है वो एवरीवेयर है। वो जितना हम लोगों का मिल्क का है तो हम लोगों को फूड सेफ्टी का भी ध्यान रख के चलना पड़ता है। फूड सेफ्टी का तो हमेशा से एक टीम तो हमारी तरफ रहता ही है वैसे, क्योंकि वो देखते हैं कि भाई गुजरात के लोग यहाँ पे आके सेटअप कैसे कर दिए तो वो क्यों करेंगे, हमारा यहाँ पे ज्ञान है, हमारा यहाँ पे नमस्ते 1 2 3 जो चार है, लेकिन हम ये उसको हम टारगेट नहीं होने देते, क्योंकि जैसे सर ने बताया अबाउट द टेस्ट ऑफ इंडिया, तो हम उस ब्रांड वैल्यू को हम बिल्कुल भी टच नहीं होने देते। सारे के सारे जो नॉर्म्स है उसका परिपालन करते हुए हम लोगों का मार्केट विजिट भी रहता है। हफ्ते में 1 मार्केट विजिट होता है।
श्री मुख्तारुल अमीन जी, Joint MD of Superhouse Limited and Secretary of Superhouse Education Foundation, Mr. Zafar Amin ji, Director Superhouse Group, Mr. Yusuf Amin ji, Joint Secretary Superhouse Education Foundation, Shri Jagwani ji. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling long ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye view for details. I thank